to see the despair, to see just the ashen face and the immediate grief, and then again to watch a family go through, if only I could have thought of this, or if only I should have done this, or I wish I would have. I think that's the toughest thing, is to see how cruel it is for a family to lose someone to a suicide.
Dr. Thomas Joyner, in his book, Why People Die by Suicide, said one of the reasons is people feel like they're a burden to other people. Everyone would be better off if I wasn't here. They could move on with their life, there'd be some kind of benefits for them, and I can tell you categorically that is untrue, because I have to bury them, and I can see out there in the sea of brokenness the carnage that's left behind, and it's devastating.
I had a classmate in medical school that committed suicide at the end of the first semester of freshman year. All the signs were there. We were medical, and none of us picked him up. And the most important sign was when he finally made the decision, he had a sense of euphoria. And I attended his funeral on the 23rd of December, 2 days before Christmas. And we should have known.
It's devastating. It's just different than a combat loss.
Most of the circumstances where I've seen a suicide actually take place, it's come to some, very much a surprise to the family and friends, because they were internalizing it and keeping it to themselves.
If you see a soldier or a buddy or an airman out there that's having relationship issues, start asking some questions, get nosy, because those are high risk. Those are our high-risk soldiers and airmen, is the ones that are having relationship issues that don't go away. I'm not talking about a fight with the spouse once in a year or something. I'm talking about relationship issues that are trends. Those are high indicators that we need to be paying attention to.
Be that friend that stands up and says, maybe you shouldn't be with this person, or you shouldn't be in this situation, or it's not a time for you to go out and buy a gun or a new car. And so the key is getting people to talk and engaging them in a meaningful conversation, not always giving them every solution, but just allowing them the chance to get things off of their chest, think through some of the problems, because sometimes they are so stressed out, you just don't realize that there are other solutions out there. You can only see one solution, and that's to end it all. And there are so many more resources out there that we can afford you as a member of our National Guard family.
Many of us may not recognize or see, because that's one of the issues we struggle with, is that you can't read everyone's mind, and you can't tell sometimes by behavior that someone's at risk. But we have to keep our eyes open and just peeled to make sure that we're looking at our soldiers, looking at our airmen, trying to understand if we even hear the slightest thing might be happening in a soldier or airman's life.
Every time we see a suicide or teach about suicide prevention, we see people quietly come up to the surface and say, I'm wrestling with this too.
As a chaplain, we are passionate about coming alongside and helping members in whatever way is meaningful to them. I believe that we are, if not the best, one of the best first stops, primary places for a person to go that's in distress.
People say, well, I'm not religious, I don't want to see the chaplain. Let me tell you, the best counselors we have are chaplains.
I always found someone who was someone I could confide in, who would listen, who could help me with advice, could reassure me, so that I could bounce things off, so that I didn't have to keep it all inside. So for my particular case, it's always been my chaplain. And so my chaplain has been my best friend for many, many years, and I've been through several chaplains, but each one of them becomes my best friend, because that's who I go to and who I talk to.
with the confidentiality that we can bring to it. The medical people can keep things confidential as long as you haven't broken a law. The chaplains have the strictest of confidentiality in them. The wing director of psychological health has great degree of confidentiality, not to the degrees of the chaplain.
And it's not likely to be something that will end your career. There's very few circumstances that that at least in my experience over the last 10 or 15 years with soldiers and airmen that have taken their lives, that couldn't have been overcome without it being an end to a career.
The absolute best counseling tool, the absolute best ministry tool we have are these and not this. Because everybody's pain is unique. Everybody's pain is different.
Call somebody to talk it through. Things aren't as bad the next day as you may think they are right now.
If we even hear the slightest thing might be happening in a soldier or airman's life, we've got to be able to try to interject, to look them in the eye, and to try to reassure them that you can overcome this. You can overcome the enemy of despair, the enemy of pain.
We believe we've trained soldiers to be resilient. We believe we've trained soldiers to adapt and overcome, and we think this ought to apply to decisions that lead a soldier to taking their own life. We would hope that soldiers view it that way, that that when they're in a dark place, that they look at going and seeking help.
Just like you're lost in the woods, you pull your compass out and you shoot an azimuth and you go until you find help. You got to do that when you're feeling alone and you're feeling isolated in your life. Pull out your moral compass and find where you can go in order to get out of that spot.
I think trust is the key to an individual coming alongside somebody in pain. Because we, when we're in pain, we can't see out of it. Even if somebody explains to us the answer, we still don't see it and we still don't buy it. And it's that trust that helps me to say, I don't see the solution, but I trust you to get me to the solution. If it's an individual that comes alongside me, I don't see what you're talking about. I can't make sense of it in my head. I'm in a fog. But I've known you for X amount of years. You've been my battle buddy. I trust you and I will follow you. So that's the key, is trust in an individual, trust in whatever your faith is, to move you towards that hope from the hopelessness that we find ourselves in.
Someday things will get better for your sake.
America, you claim to have the greatest army history has known. You may have the numbers and weapons, but your soldiers lack the will and resolve. Still scarred from their defeats in Afghanistan and Iraq, they return dead or suicidal, with over 6,500 of them killing themselves each year. So while you go around cooking the facts on the results of your military airstrikes, we continue to haunt the minds of your soldiers and sow fear into their hearts, with 18 of your soldiers committing suicide each day before you've even advanced.
We have resources, so many resources, that are available for help if you just talk to someone if you're feeling so depressed.
To those of you who may be thinking about suicide, tomorrow is a better day. A night's rest, 24 hours, things look different. If you call somebody, together you can come up with other ways to solve these problems that may seem so overwhelming that you need to end it all right now. You can even come up with your own solutions if there's somebody else there to bounce them off of. But I ask that you give someone else or myself a chance to save your life.